Coming up on FYI, when was the last time you saw a deaf actor on TV or in the theatre? We met some young actors who want more opportunities for deaf people.
The more deaf people on TV, the more awareness it brings about deaf people.
And Thomas is at Goodwood Motor Circuit checking out a unique racing competition.
Do you think you can build an electric car from scratch and race it? Well, these guys have.
This is FYI, the weekly news show where we bring you all the latest info and you get to have your say.
Yes, and later, I'll be speaking to FYI viewers about eSports and whether they think they deserve a place at the Commonwealth Games, which are kicking off later this month.
And as usual, we've been investigating possible fake news stories. Do you think this next story we found is fake news or fact? We found a post being shared online claiming that dust found on garden furniture and cars recently was caused by so-called chemtrails, or chemical trails, which are supposedly the trails in the sky made by airplanes as they fly.
The post claims that the dust from these chemtrails came down in the rain, but is that true or are chemtrails fake news? We'll let you know later in the show.
Brayden, did you see that this new 999 British Sign Language video call service has just launched? So, in case of an emergency, deaf people can video call a British Sign Language interpreter and speak to them via BSL instead of texting.
That's really good news, and hopefully we'll be seeing more things just like that, because a new British Sign Language law has just come into force, which means BSL is now legally recognised as an official language in England, Scotland and Wales. It's great news for the deaf community, who have been campaigning for the law change for years. It's hoped that the new law will mean the language is more widely used in public services, like hospitals, schools and on TV, which will mean more inclusion for the 250,000 people in the UK who use BSL every day. Rudy went to meet some young actors from Definitely Theatre, which is the first ever deaf theatre company in the UK, and they want to see more deaf actors on our screens and in the theatre.
This theatre group is pretty unique, and its cast members say it shouldn't be that way. They want their theatre to be inclusive of everybody, both deaf and hearing audiences, so they've produced a bilingual theatre, which means it's performed in two languages, British Sign Language and spoken English. So what does Definitely Theatre mean to you?
Definitely Theatre is special to me because it helps me build my confidence. It's a really amazing place because we can build up my skills in creating pictures with your hands instead of using words.
It includes us, deaf people, to feel more involved and encourage our confidence.
I like Definitely Theatre because it's an opportunity to make friends, and I want to become an actor in the future. I'm happy when I'm performing.
Why do you love BSL?
Signing is so visual, and it shows that you don't have to use words and you can rely on your hands and your facial expressions to tell a story and paint a picture.
Do you think we should all learn British Sign Language?
Yes, everyone should learn.
Deaf people face so many barriers in communication, so it'd make so many breakthroughs.
Definitely Youth Theatre was where actress and Strictly Come Dancing winner Rose Ayling-Ellis started out. She was Strictly's first ever deaf contestant and the first ever deaf character on EastEnders. She's a real inspiration to the deaf community.
I think it's amazing because she's like my deaf role model. She shows me that we can do anything.
I feel really proud of Rose.
Do you think there's enough representation or opportunity for deaf people in theatre or TV?
I want to see more deaf people signing on TV and film and theatre because I think, it's not just about the subtitles. So we need sign language on TV.
The more deaf people on TV, the more awareness it brings about deaf people.
I thought the rehearsal was so good, and it's amazing to get different people's perspectives on things, and I think a bilingual theatre is a must-see for everyone.
You must have seen lorries carrying cars in their trailers. But have you ever seen them on the back of a bike? This man was spotted in China transporting a whole car on the back of his three-wheeler bike. Pretty impressive.
Brayden, you've heard of Formula E, right?
Yeah, it's like Formula 1 but with electric cars.
Exactly. So it's been around for a while now, but it's getting bigger. McLaren, one of the big racing teams in Formula 1, has just announced its involvement in Formula E. This week, they've unveiled their new electric racing cars.
Well, that's pretty cool, isn't it? And I reckon Thomas has met some of the Formula E racers and engineers of the future. He headed to the legendary racetrack Goodwood to see some of the electric cars that they've built themselves.
Hey guys, loads of teams are here today and it's the first time they'll be racing in their cars that they built from scratch. It's all part of a competition to inspire the next generation of engineers to build electric cars.
These guys are Team HF24 and they've come all the way down from Derby today. How are you feeling today? You must be excited to race
Yeah,
here.
excited, a bit nervous as well.
I'm definitely excited.
Yeah.
But so far everything's gone quite smoothly, so I think it'll be all right.
What do you have to do in the actual race?
It's an endurance race, so it doesn't really matter about being first, just as long as we get to the end.
Was it challenging to build the car from scratch yourselves?
Yeah, it was quite hard. We had to do a lot of wiring and we had to do a lot of building stuff and then taking it apart and then carry on building it and things like that.
And they're off now to the race.
Well, while HF24 are busy with the race, I caught up with Holly, a former engineer who's been helping them along the way.
So how did you help these kids out with building the car?
We try and have the kids building the car as much as possible because they need to be confident enough to mechanic it or deal with any issues that happen. We sort of stood back and the kids did most of the build themselves.
Obviously, you're not allowed to help if something goes wrong.
No, they are fully self-sufficient, which is why they need to be confident enough. So we can stand here and support them, but if anything needs doing with the car, they have to do that on their own.
Okay, so the race is over. How did you do?
There were a lot of faster cars than ours, but I think we probably have the better car, battery-wise. I think because we're sensible with how fast we're going.
What does it mean to you to race here at Goodwood?
It's a good feeling. You feel proud of yourself being able to do this and it's really good.
Well done again, guys, and I hope you get a good time in the next qualifying race and get to the final.
Nice one, thanks Thomas. Now from Formula E to eSports. eSports is massive and it even has loads of its own worldwide tournaments.
Yeah, the gaming world is huge. Did you know you can even do a degree in eSports?
No, I didn't. Well, that's awesome. Well, for the first time, eSports are going to be trialled in the Commonwealth Games later this month. There's going to be football, car racing, battle games, alongside the other usual sports. But do you think it deserves a place there? I headed to Westacre Middle School to ask an FYI News Club what they think. Most of us have definitely played a video game before. I'm a big football game fan myself, but should they be considered as a sport? Well, I'm here at Westacre Middle School to see what your shout is on this and to see whether eSports should be considered in the Commonwealth Games. What do you guys think?
I don't think it should because you're not being physically active when you're doing eSports.
I think that it could be classed as one.
People say you don't put enough effort into training for it, but I think they put enough effort that they should be allowed in. You have to work your way up in gaming. You can't just turn on a computer and be the best player in the world.
I don't think it should, but it could be involved in a different one.
So what video games do you feel should be included in the Commonwealth Games? Which games do you think deserve a place there? And do you think violent games should be included?
I think that dance should be included because it's a very active game, and if there are going to be violent games, it should be later on so kids don't see it while they're watching the non-scary games.
I think it should be only games that are sports in real life because it has it in the name, eSports.
I think that if any sports were going to be added, football is a very well-known sport around the world.
We've come to I think a good conclusion there. Is there anything that you guys would like to add?
Any esports game might encourage the people actually watching it to try and do it, making people more fit.
Well, I think there were some really good points there, so thank you so much, guys. Remember, if you want to have your say on an issue right here on FYI, head to our webpage at first.news/FYI. You'll get all the info on how to set up an FYI News Club at your school.
So, you've probably heard lots in the news about world leaders meeting at the G7 summit in Germany.
But have you ever actually wondered what actually happens at the G7 summit, or what G7 even means? Us too.
So, G7 stands for Group of Seven. It's the leaders from 7 of the most powerful countries in the world: the UK, the United States, Germany, France, Canada, Italy, and Japan. They all meet and talk about the big issues facing the planet. And this year, Russia's war in Ukraine dominated the talks. The Ukrainian President Zelensky addressed the leaders asking for more help to end the war, and the leaders have promised more funding and more military support for Ukraine.
Meanwhile, charities are doing all they can to help the people of Ukraine with the money raised from public donations. The Disasters Emergency Committee has organised for volunteer cyclists to deliver food to vulnerable people stuck in cities where fighting means it's dangerous for them to leave.
And fundraising efforts are carrying on around the UK as well. Check these guys out. In Cornwall, 300 swimmers attempted to break the world record for the largest ever synchronised routine. Guinness World Records still need to confirm if the Swim for Ukraine routine beat the previous record of 247 swimmers. Fingers crossed.
Now we've got a big congratulations to say to Avi for winning the Big Bang competition and being named the UK's Young Engineer of the Year.
Nice one, Avi. So we wanted to know more about her winning invention, so she sent us this video to tell us more.
I've created a pop-up pavilion that reacts to the internal CO2 levels of the space inside. Throughout the pandemic, the need for space for social distancing and better air quality became hugely important. So I wanted to explore the concept of a pop-up pavilion that could provide that space and healthy indoor air quality solution. Some of the features include a front and back shutter wall, which both open and close, and they're controlled by a stepper motor. There's also a sliding skylight which opens and closes, and there are warning lights embedded into the windows of the pavilion to make users who would be inside it aware whether the CO2 levels are either good or bad. And there's also a fan fitted on the front and a screen which actually monitors the live CO2 levels, so you're always aware of that. So different functions and mechanisms surrounding the pavilion will activate depending on whether the CO2 levels are high or low. I felt really honoured and humbled to receive the Big Bang Young Engineers of the Year award. It was a really great opportunity for me to speak about my project and to give me that confidence to go on to create even more projects, potentially bigger projects in the future. Engineering is important to me because it's a way to find solutions to different problems, and it's also a great way to test your creativity and to create really awesome and creative things. And what I also enjoy about engineering is being able to bring the technology side onto it. So being able to integrate something I've made with code to make everything move, which is what I find cool and what gives it an extra touch for me. Advice that I would give to other inspiring engineers and inventors is to not be afraid to just give it a go. It doesn't have to be perfect straight away, as long as you have that creativity and that passion to want to explore it and just see what you can come up with and create.
Well done again, Abby. So, did you guess this week's fake news or fact?
The post being shared online, claiming that dust found on garden furniture and cars was caused by so-called chemtrails from aeroplanes, is fake news.
The dust was actually caused by sand and dust storms all the way from the Sahara Desert in Africa. Strong winds can carry the dust and sand as far as the UK, and then the particles in the sky come down in rainfall, and that's when you see the dust covering cars or garden furniture.
Yeah, the dust particles in the air also cause these amazing red skies. The UK's National Weather Service, the Met Office, says it's pretty common in the UK and happens a few times a year.
Chemtrails, or chemical trails, is what's known as a conspiracy theory, where a small group of people believe airplanes are leaving behind chemicals rather than harmless water vapour. The theory has been rejected by experts and scientists, and that's why it's fake news. Remember, if you want more help spotting fake news, just head to our webpage, first.news/FYI. We've got loads of tips and explainers.
Well, that's it from us this week, but you can catch us next week for all the latest info. Bye!